Millboard composite decking is a material that has a very authentic wood grain look to it. It's different from other composites because of the composition. It's actually made with limestone and glass fibers for structure, and because of its makeup, when you're doing a project, it exhibits very little expansion and contraction, which allows you to actually butt the boards up about 1 millimeter apart. So today we'll be talking to Patrick and Brendan and Juan, and they were installers of the millboard on this project.
With the installation procedures of millboard, what was the biggest thing that kind of stood out for you?
The biggest benefit of it was the hidden fastener system. Absolutely amazing. I mean, as soon as you put a screw in, it's done. And if you did make a mistake in the installation of a board, you could pop it off, unscrew it, and put down the same board. You never ruin a board. You never have any waste. I mean, obviously, especially if you're doing an angled deck, a honeycomb one like this, there is the waste on the ends. But if you make a mistake on a board, you can reuse it.
New boards, if they make a mistake in cutting or installing, that's an absolute benefit.
That's a great point. So that's a great point. The other thing I think that comes to mind, this particular manufacturer, Millboard, focuses on one length of board versus other manufacturers working with a 20, a 16, a 12. Fascias are all over the place with thicknesses and widths and durability. How did you find working with a board manufacturer that had one length versus 3 or 4?
Oh, I can answer this one.
Carrying them was easy.
They are light. They're very light. Yes.
Yes.
The one thing I found was the difference in the metric and imperial system. These boards are 12 feet, but they're not. They're 142 inches because they're in the metric system from the UK. So pre-building the deck, you want to pre-plan for that and make sure that your joist layout is accurate enough to handle that. You might have to switch to the metric system to frame the deck.
Bringing it back.
And shorten your joist span up so that you're not ending up with those offcuts. So you got a 12-foot board that's just under 12 feet. Well, now you're always cutting it down to 11, and you're always cutting off that 6 to 8 inches to make it land on a joist. Whereas if you frame properly to account for that, for other installers, especially new installers that don't know the product, that would be a good benefit, right? But if in this particular instance the deck is well over 20 feet, so it's this one here kind of worked out in our favor that it was almost less than 2 boards, or just about there, so we could just move our boards around, but you still have full boards in the center, which we were cutting down a few inches. Right. The goal is to try to avoid waste, so it just comes down to just changing your joist layer. If you're building it new, this one was a already framed deck. We didn't reframe it, so you just want to frame the deck so that the boards have as little waste as possible. It comes down to planning at the beginning.
It's been established in Europe for the last 25 years. So if you had it over there for 25, in Australia for 15, the Scandinavian countries have had it for 10. So
We didn't
you
touch it.
know that you can do any freestyle heat cycle and still stand up.
And that's important here in Canada.
Absolutely. If I can grow a peach tree in the backyard, but the next day I'm showing 4 feet of snow, that's a cycle.
You want your deck material. You want your deck material to hand up.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing with Canadian weather is the difference in the cycle is not that it's months at a time. It can be hours, even days. And it's that fast cycle that causes a lot of materials not to work here. But when you find one that does and that looks this good, you gotta promote it. You gotta put it out there because it's just nice. I was telling Brendan, I love wood products. Straight up, natural wood products are my thing. This is one product that I would consider selling to clients of mine because of its natural beauty that actually reminds me of natural wood, but has that long-lasting feel
And low maintenance.
Which lends itself for interior and exterior.
Oh yeah, my wife's already looking at putting it in bathrooms and stuff. Right? Like it's a really nice product to use in a lot of different areas, and it's just one of those things you have to promote it. It's not really a well-known product, so our business takes us through both the residential and commercial sector, and I think there's a lot of commercial sectors where this would be nice because their main thing is low maintenance. Put a little money out front, but we don't have to deal with it for 25 years. And then, so I think there's a lot of applications where this can be used in that industry as well.
We've done a deck job here that blows anything else out of the water that we've ever seen, and working with a product that lends itself to bringing out your talent. So what we're looking to do is, okay, tell us how you did it, but more importantly, there is a history of this material that has now been established already for the last 25 years.
And we've heard about that, but we've never. This is our very first time installing this material. And while you say, yeah, it was a job that we've done, and it's one of the most beautiful things you can see. But the material is what caused that. The material brought that out because of its beauty, because of its ease of installation. I mean, we like to be high quality. We like to give that quality to homeowners. But the material itself was a big help.
Made it easier.
It made it easy, and just the look of the material, the feel of the material, and ease of installation. So,
And it's much like hard. I remember what.
yeah, he was.
If I dropped my hammer from head height onto the ground and it bounced off the board, and then I took my hammer and I drove it like Thor right into it, and all it did was make a little dent.
Thored it?
I just made a little dent,
Yeah, like
and then I was like, okay, now what happens if I smash it with the claw and it cracked it, it cut it, but unless you really looked at it, you couldn't see it. And I hit it a few more times, and it finally started to peel that rubber back. But like, you really gotta go to town on this material to get it to. I took my X-Acto knife to it. A brand new blade will cut it thinly, but then you don't even know it's there. Pretty much. And then if you cut it enough times, you can start to see the scratches, but that's all it looks like. It's a little scratch.
It's amazing how sturdy this material is for how comfortable the deck feels. Amazing.
Yeah, the rubber under your feet feels a lot better.
Definitely. Now the next test that we need to check is when summertime comes and the sun is right there, because this is a dark color. Usually it's not recommended that, hey, you're going to get, if you go in your bare feet, you're going to feel that temperature. That is the next test that we have to do.
Does it get warm? Yes, any material does, but it doesn't burn.
Correct.
And
That is what I'm referring to.
The burning part, I think,
Yes.
is key. There's other manufacturers out there that we have experienced in the past of installers refusing to lay it down. They'll burn their kneecap.
That doesn't mean that it's simple to build and to organize it, to design, but the look of the whole thing is simple as a bullnose, square bore over there, and that's it.
It's just
That
a
gives
classic,
the whole
a classic
of that.
look.
It's a combination of technology, high quality material, and the simplicity of the look.
Not just that one, but additional material as well.
Yeah, additional material, of course.
This year,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and labor, right? Cutting these
right.
and that,
These,
On a
these
regular
boards-
one, you would have another couple of boards just to make the step right.
look proper and everything, and
This
that
one
just
is like-
that speaks that sentence there speaks to the quality of the material being
Absolutely,
used here.
yes.
Yeah, the width of these boards also allows for a 13-inch step, which is much nicer than the typical 11
11
that,
and
that
a
you end
quarter,
up with.
11 and a half, yes.
On a deck where you want to be comfortable, you don't want to be running with a skinny step and
Good
and,
point.
Like it's,
Yes.
I know a standard
yes.
interior step is 10 inches, but out here you just want that little bit of extra width. You're carrying food in and out.
Yep.
Just gives you a little more
Good
comfort
point.
walking up and down.
Good point.
It's just like the perfect size for a nice deck.
Yeah, because I think our old one was 3 boards, and that's what somebody said. Well, that's too wide. It's
Oh,
illegal, but that's what we went for.
You almost
the
have to
3
take a
boards.
half step on the steps before
Yeah.
you get down. Whereas this one
Yeah.
is just perfect. It gives you that room to feel comfortable walking up and down with something in your hands, but you don't need that railing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not so wide that you feel like you're overstepping. I usually
This
do.
is the way I would do any other typical
Just come for all of
deck
it.
stair
Yeah.
or trim,
Yeah.
but luckily this product it actually comes with the bull nose, which looks absolutely beautiful.
Gives that finished look.
It gives a finished look.
It's great width.
And Again, easy to install. You don't have to worry about trying to trim out your deck stair or even your deck edge. The bullnose just takes care of that.
Yeah, another key point here with using the full board, full deck board instead of a thin fascia board,
Yeah.
is that actually allows us to bring a screw out farther and put right into the fascia board, which stops the bull nose from flexing a little bit. Because you can screw right into that limestone finish, and it holds just as well as if it was wood. But otherwise, you're putting two screws in the back half of the board, and the front half of most deck boards will flex a little as you walk on them. But in this particular instance, it doesn't.
This is a typical stair. I mean, we just use we just cut stringers for the length of these stairs.
Okay.
And 12 inches on center.
Okay.
And like you can walk. You know that this set of stairs isn't going anywhere. For the length, the boards don't shift at all. They don't flex at all. And again, as Patrick said, the nose, strong.
If you look through these very, very carefully, I think there's about 4 or 5 different patterns that they have.
Yeah.
Because even if, as you're cutting it, you'll see through different pieces where the rubber section is actually different thicknesses as well. So sometimes on the outer corners it's thicker or thinner, and in the middle it's thick. The biggest thing that I've noticed with the extruded boards is the fact the butt ends never square. So you're constantly cutting both ends. And it is
important to know.
Oh, it is extremely irritating. You got a 20-foot board. You're up there, and you're like, okay, now I got to trim this end. Now I got to pick this board up and spin it around and set it back on the saw to cut this end to length. It's the most annoying thing ever, and it works if you got a big enough deck where you're
But
running
that's not
along.
specific to this material.
This material is
That's not specific to this material. The only if you're doing composite, you still have to do that. I mean,
yeah, this material, it avoids that.
Do you have to use a special saw blade? Can you rubber
no,
it?
actually, it cuts exactly the same as any other composite or wood board. And
40 tooth blade is good.
Mhm.
I think anything less than that, it might tear the rubber. We use the 40 tooth for all composite decks,
Okay.
for almost any deck really.
Okay.
Our saws have 40 tooth blades.
Okay.
You never have any burrs. The dust itself is so fine. I mean,
Just like
usually
sawdust?
even
drywall dust.
it just blows away. I mean, usually when we're doing typical like a vinyl composite, we'll lay down our tarps because it collects so much and it's so heavy it sits on the ground.
Okay.
So say Rob, he wants to go cut the grass after
Right.
we've just built his deck.
Right.
Well, there's a huge pile of vinyl composite dust there.
Shavings.
Now,
Materials.
it doesn't happen with this. So
Really?
you do have to watch your eyes, and if
Proper PPE.
you know exactly, of course.
And you want to be downwind so the wind is
That's
blowing
right.
the dust away from you.
But other than that, we didn't even have to lay down a tarp. The dust just kind of it's so fine.
Dissipated.
Disappears.
And the base of the material is, as far as I understand, is limestone and fiberglass, which are natural products. So.
I mean, the product went down so well.
Oh, I see. It's on a
So, unless you are kind of new to deck building, everyone's gonna figure it out. Everyone's gonna.
That's a good
I don't think anybody's gonna have any issues getting it down.
So we've talked about the length of the boards. We've talked about the application of cutting it, the equipment. One of the big advantages of this material is virtually no expansion contraction. How did that come into play when you're laying it down and determining your spacing?
The recommended spacing for these boards is 4 mil.
Okay.
Now,
Is that butt end or side to side?
side to side,
Okay.
in between the boards, you want 4 mil.
Okay.
Butt
With-
joints was 1 mil.
That's right. Yeah. So that never changes. When you butt two boards together, you can always have a 1 millimeter gap, because, like you said, it won't expand and contract
Right.
the same as every other board.
Every now and then, one of the ends might be just curving off a little bit, so then you adjust your spacing. So, but 1 millimeter change in spacing you can't notice with the naked eye. So, it's you can't see it in the deck, but there are multiple spacings here that are just slightly different than the previous because of the variances in the boards.
Yeah, it is important to know that there are variances in the board and to be able to lay your deck accordingly.
Right on. I appreciate the time, the effort, the expertise, and the feedback. It was a pleasure meeting both of you.
Awesome.
And,
You too.
Look forward to doing many more with this.
Of course.
Great.